Hi, Black Cat Recapped here. Today I am going to explain a drama movie named 3 Steps Above Heaven. The story starts with some girls in a classroom. The teacher is mad and selects a few students, calling them out and making them stand in a line. One girl, helped by her friend Bobby, answers the teacher's questions, but soon gets caught. Later that night we see Bobby's parents and her sister. In town there's a lot of excitement with bikes, girls, and boys. There's a guy named Hugo Oliveira who is popular, brave, and handsome. He's in a competition with other guys and ends up winning the pull-up contest, making his friends happy. At the same time, Bobby is welcomed by her friends, and they all start dancing and celebrating. Soon after, Hugo is invited to a party for rich people, and they all decide to join in. At the party, a guy who used to date Bobby approaches her and calls her beautiful. He wants forgiveness for past mistakes, but Bobby isn't interested. The group decides to crash the party and cause trouble. Hugo notices Bobby and her ex-boyfriend, which makes him smile. Someone from the party steals money from a purse, and a girl catches him. She doesn't mind losing €50 but gets angry when he suggests going to lunch. She walks away. Hugo talks to Bobby about a previous incident where he called her a bad name. He keeps using the same name, and she throws a drink on him. When her ex-boyfriend laughs, Hugo pushes him, breaking a table. Hugo picks up Bobby and walks outside, throwing her into the swimming pool. Inside, Hugo's friends are fighting with other guys at the party. The police are called. Before leaving, Hugo tells Bobby they'll bathe together next time. Bobby can't escape easily because her revealing dress is wet. Later, when Bobby and the guy are leaving, he admits it was a setup to spend time with her. However, their plan backfires as they return to destroy the guy's car. The guy hits one of their gang members, and Hugo follows him. Without wasting time, Hugo starts teaching him a lesson. Bobby calls for help, and an old man tries to assist but doesn't do well, so they both leave. Bobby has no choice but to take matters into her own hands and grabs Hugo from behind. Seizing the opportunity, the guy takes his car and leaves Bobby behind. Hugo teases her for a bit until she asks for a ride from a suspicious-looking stranger. Seeing this, Hugo shoos the stranger away and eventually gives her a ride. When she reaches home, she meets her mother and explains what happened. Her sister reveals that Hugo is known as Hero around town. The next day, Hugo wakes up and manages to take some money from his brother. His brother reminds him of dinner with their dad before leaving. Bobby's friend Katina sees Hugo and his friend, accusing him of stealing her allowance. She complains to him, but Hugo doesn't care. It seems Katina is happy to go to lunch with the guy. Hugo expects Katina to invite him to a nice place, but she's annoyed and leaves. Later, Hugo joins his father for dinner and learns that his brother is late, and his mother is on a trip with a friend. He goes into his old room and starts imagining all the past scenarios. Hugo used to be a smart student, but something happened in his life that changed him, and he moved in with his brother. At home, Bobby's parents are mad at her because one of the guys got seriously hurt. They're reporting the guy who was with her last night. She reveals his name in the end. Her sister thinks revealing Hugo's name puts her in big trouble. Bobby gets a call from Katina's mother and decides to go to a local race where Katina is present. Hugo arrives and starts teasing her again. She tells him that she told her parents he's the one who broke the guy's nose at the party. His friend is afraid he might go to jail, but Hugo isn't worried. He believes that when the court day comes, she'll do anything to save him because she'll be crazy for him by then. Soon, they have a strange race where they have to carry their girls on the back while racing. Bobby sits on an unknown bike with another man. They race for a while, and in the end, one girl gets injured, and the police come to arrest everyone. Before they could get away, a cop takes a picture of them. Bobby hides and waits for Hugo, who shows up a bit later. He gives her his jacket. Before saying goodbye, Hugo tries to kiss her and asks if she'll still talk about him in court. She says yes and slaps him. Hugo's brother sees their pictures in the newspaper and looks worried. The next day, Hugo sneaks through Bobby's window and puts up a big poster with their picture. When she wakes up, it reminds her of him. She's really happy and seems to be falling in love with him. She decides to see Hugo again at a party. At the party, Bobby dances, and Hugo arrives, touching her hand. After a while, she comes home. Her mother catches her this time and finds out she had a little to drink. She gets slapped by her mother before going to bed. Bobby gets a call from Hugo, asking to see her. He asks what they will do tomorrow, and she is willing to go anywhere. The next day, Bobby waits for Hugo outside her school. He picks her up, and her teacher watches them. While driving around, Hugo spots a man with his mother in a car. Memories flood back, and he recalls the moment when he found his mother with another man. Overwhelmed by anger, he beats the man. Unable to believe his mother could do such a thing, Hugo starts hitting metal with his hands. Bobby hugs him, trying to calm him down. During their time away, they share romantic moments before returning to town. Bobby starts spending more time with Hugo and his biker gang. However, Hugo's other romantic interest causes trouble for Bobby, leading to a fight between them. Hugo and his friends intervene, with Hugo taking Bobby away and assuring her that he won't cheat on her. He takes her to a tattoo shop, and she happily gets a tattoo. When Hugo returns home, he finds Bobby's father wanting to talk. Hugo explains to Bobby's father that she is helping him ease up, and there's nothing to worry about. When his brother tried to warn him that his actions could land him in jail, he accidentally got a bit too aggressive. At school, the teacher explains that she could get expelled because she signed the absent leave letter herself. Her mother picks her up and pays an €8,000 fine to prevent her from being expelled. She tells everything to Hugo, and he enters her room through her window. He takes her to an empty pool at night, and they have a great time. One day, Hugo goes to Bobby's school, talks to the teacher, and asks her to stop giving Bobby any trouble in the future. Bobby asks her father for a favor, and he happily allows her to go, deciding to handle her mother. Hugo takes her far from town to an old house with a beautiful spot, where they spend lots of quality time until the next morning. The following day, while Bobby and Hugo were having quality moments, his friend arrives with all his friends and starts to party. Seeing this, Bobby gets very angry and pushes everyone away, including Hugo. Hugo does something amazing that surprises her. He writes on a building that he loves her. Later, he learns how to cook, specifically for Bobby. When Hugo calls Bobby, he finds out that her mother's ring is missing. This makes him super angry. He confronts his gang mates and fights with the leader until the girl gives him the missing ring. Hugo goes back to Bobby's house and returns her the ring. Seeing him injured, she can't resist taking care of his injuries. On the court date, she is asked about what happened that night. Before leaving with Hugo, Bobby scolds her mother, making her cry. Her mother decides to throw a party because Bobby is turning 18 soon. Bobby goes away to gift her teacher but sees Pepita there, realizing that Hugo was the one who abducted Pepita earlier, and she runs away. Soon, Bobby arrives at Hugo's apartment and wants to talk. She scolds him and decides to separate from him. On the party day, Bobby is getting ready, and Hugo is still thinking about her. Hugo's friend is going on the race again, but Hugo is nowhere to be found. He finally arrives at Bobby's party, and it seems like he has finally changed for her. She is stunned to see him change. They slowly get closer and start kissing each other. Meanwhile, Hugo's friend is about to win the race, but it doesn't take long before his friend has an accident. They find out about his friend not long after. Hugo learns that Pollo is no longer alive, and upon hearing this, he starts crying intensely. Bobby can't handle the situation anymore and just wants to leave. This leads to a disaster because Hugo slaps Bobby before she goes. Hugo starts doing pull-ups, thinking about everything happening in his life. Meanwhile, Bobby spends more time with her neighbor, forgetting Hugo and deleting his number while he is suffering. One day, he's on a call, and someone arrives at the apartment. It's Katina, who wishes him a happy Christmas. She gives him a gift with pictures of him and Pollo, making him cry. They haven't seen Bobby since the accident. She advises him to forget about Bobby because she's with another guy. Later, he goes to the same phone booth to call Bobby. Her mother answers but doesn't let him talk to Bobby. He sees them leaving in a car. Unable to bear it, he stays outside his apartment and cries in pain. In the end, we see Hugo and his brother. Hugo tells his brother that he's going to work because he can't stay there. He starts recalling when it all began and realizes that certain moments only happen once. No matter how hard you try, you never feel the same way again. You'll never experience the feeling of being 3 meters above the sky.